Hey, this is David from Synthaholics. I just wanted to apologize for the way this episode sounds. It is a little bit rough. I had some of my settings a little bit wrong on the recorder, so the sound was clipping for a lot of the episode, so I apologize profusely for that. There's not a lot I can do without re-recording the entire episode, so maybe just play this episode at a lesser volume, so hopefully it won't be too detrimental to listen to. But thank you so much for listening to the show and being here with us. And I just wanted to apologize for the way this episode sounds, and we'll get it right next time. Thanks. And here is the episode.
Synthaholics. It's the Metal Podcast.
Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me is coal miner
Aaron O'Brien.
And we have who's that laughing?
Another coal miner?
We haven't even started.
I work in the admissions office.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're the one who keeps bringing in the canaries.
Hi, it's Holly. Holly Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. I was waiting for it.
I thought about going Holly.
Tell the good people who you are. I'm the canary in the coal mine recruiter. It's a great working conditions. You're going to love it.
Right.
We're at Holly's house. She's in the midst of moving.
Yes.
There's no lights.
Very little lights. There are some lights.
There's some lights, just not in the vicinity of us.
Yes.
Aaron's holding a light to his forehead so he can read the description for the episode we're going to talk about tonight.
That's right.
And so...
You're not supposed to tell them about the movie magic.
Yeah. Don't tell them how the sausage is made.
Well, first I whip it out.
Ugh.
I'm not here for that.
That's not
part.
how the sausage I eat.
Hey, I remember things getting whipped out last night, so don't you even...
I was not there last... Wait, I was there last night.
Things were getting whipped out.
Oh, that... Yeah.
I got an eyeful, but it was all right. So, there's not a whole lot of news. I didn't see anything
No, I didn't
interesting.
see anything worthwhile talking about.
I mean, they're shooting Discovery Season 2. And,
Which we know.
And that's nothing new there, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
E3's happening. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing the Fallout conference. I really wanted to see that tonight.
Yeah, I know Josiah and the
And
Geekiverse.
Josiah and Adam are out there having the time of their lives.
Yes, they are.
Except they're not... They didn't get to the hot tub last night, which was very devastating for Josiah.
You know, hot tubs, public hot tubs, no, thank you.
No?
Just as long as it's not a hot tub time machine.
I always enjoy going to the spa. I always enjoy going to the spa.
The spa.
Hotel.
If you know it's well maintained.
Right. Oh, man.
But this is in L.A.
I went to...
There's hypodermic needles on the bottom of it. You know?
How many people have died in that?
Right.
I know.
Hopefully...
How many overdoses have taken place in
How many people have jumped off the roof into it and just died from the impact?
Right,
you know,
right.
Whatever.
Well, this episode we are talking about the Voyager Hope and Fear.
Hope
And fear.
And fear.
Mostly fear.
Mostly fear. This is...
And revenge.
No, there was a lot of hope.
There was hope, and there was fear.
I like how they talked about it multiple times throughout the
And we
episode.
will keep bringing up hope and fear. But before we get
Never
into this
in
episode...
the same sentence, though.
Yeah.
We also have an email to read from an RR later on in this episode. We've been holding it for a while until we're all together. We're finally all together, the three of us.
Yes.
Magic.
Do we want to read that first, or we want to?
No, we'll mention it now, and stay tuned for that email because it's always fun reading emails, and I hope
Absolutely.
you guys enjoy it.
So so Hope and Fear, Season 4, Episode 26, and it first aired May 20th, 1998. So we get a scene of Seven of Nine and Janeway playing a game on the holodeck called Velocity, and it's sort of like
It's not a racing game, which you'd think it would be with a name like Velocity.
It's like Frisbee, but with phasers.
Yeah, and you can only shoot it when it's your color, or it comes at you when it's your color or something.
Picard and Riker played a very similar game on the holodeck where they're shooting
remember that,
dots, and I don't remember it being Velocity. It's like basically the same game, except it's just targets, I think.
It must be a lot, but apparently Janeway won this last round, and this put 7 off.
Well, this is so totally unrealistic. There's no way Janeway would beat 7.
Well, I don't know.
I like the explanation of
intuition, but I feel like reflexes would win over that.
Yeah, but sometimes, just how the game goes, it very often there's weird things can happen, and she even said that
I noticed the sound of it, bouncing off
the
wall and the shadow across the room, and
yeah, she heard the sound, saw the shadow, and 7 was like, that's highly unlikely or whatever.
But I mean, she's got all the board game plans. Shouldn't she be hearing everything way better? Everything about this scene makes me cringe. Except for I think the only reason it was this way because Kate Mulgrew would have walked off the set if she had to leave.
I disagree. I really think that this because I played plenty of games that somebody could have outmatched me, and I beat them just because chances go in my favor. A lot of times games is just pure chance too. I mean, it does involve skill and talent, of course, but you sometimes where the ball goes or whatever, it just happens to be in your favor. So
yeah. Well, my interpretation of that interaction was about 7 of 9's humanity surfacing. She's still fighting it. She's still not sure if she wants to embrace it, and she does have human feelings that she tries not to allow, and she's miffed.
Yeah, it's the underpinning theme of the entire episode.
Yeah, but I mean, any episode with 7 of 9 that's pretty much what it's about. It's about her either utilizing her Borg side or utilizing her humanity side, So I thought it was more. I thought it did make sense because she's fighting her human side, so she's not able to notice things that come naturally to people who aren't super analytical. Because I am really analytical and I miss stuff all the time.
Well, my thing is. She too is probably trying to come up with the terms that sometimes that just because she is Borg, it doesn't mean that you can't lose, and you can't. And then she has to deal with the idea that I lost that game. Mm-hmm. And Janeway said that you won 10 out of 4. I can't remember.
7 out of 4. Was it 10 out of 7?
Something like that. Yeah,
like Janeway won most of them.
Oh.
No. She said that 7 won.
I thought.
Yeah, no. 7 won most of them. I don't remember the exact number. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, but I thought she said that she won most of them.
It was 4 out of 7 or something.
Yeah, but then she was like, and then she's basically, I gotta go or whatever, and 7 wants to continue the game. Yeah, wants a rematch, and just
mad bro.
Just says be a sport, and then she walks out. So obviously, 7 doesn't know how to deal with. Maybe the idea of the the failure, the human thing of like, hey, I got beat here, and that really pisses me off, kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's a subtext I think we see more and more as time goes on with 7, and that's the cool thing about Voyager is like we get subtext that slowly floats through all the different episodes.
Yeah.
So then we get our next scene where Janeway's early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and she is in the mess hall, and she's trying to work on this message that they got, but it's encrypted from...
Message in a bottle, gotta treat her the right way.
What?
Sorry.
Are you saying a genie in a bottle?
I don't think he knows.
So message in a bottle is from the police...
Message in a bottle.
Anyways, it's
Genie in a bottle.
I'm combining 2 songs.
Yeah, you combine 2 songs that don't even work.
Exactly.
Anyways,
my musical references are superior. Johnny Who.
Sorry, you lost.
Johnny Who.
And that one.
You combine Doctor Who and Johnny. I was thinking Johnny Quest and Doctor Who.
No. It was because before we started recording, you were like singing a Johnny Cash song. I didn't get it, and then I was like Johnny Who. Yeah. So I just thought I'd throw that in.
Johnny Who.
Johnny what?
Johnny Credit. Be a good new version of that. Anyways, so they got a message that was what am I looking for? What's the word? I'm thinking conscripted, but that's the wrong word.
Encrypted.
Encrypted. Thank you. They were not encrypted. They were encrypted, not conscripted.
So many words.
They were encrypted and heavily degraded.
Yeah. So this is a message from Starfleet. And Janeway and crew are trying to figure it out. I guess B'Elanna Torres says, "Forget it. We're never going to get this. It's just too badly degraded.
It's too snowy. Can't get the snow out. Get just in their antennas."
That's right.
The Arabideers got to get the snow off the TV.
So while she's trying to decipher this and working on this early in the morning, Chakotay walks in and gives her update that Lieutenant Tom Paris and Neelix are coming back from this trading colony, and that they have this guy that helped them.
Leland.
Who wants to get dropped off?
Leland Palmer from Twin Peaks.
he's a master at languages.
Yeah, so we get...
He's really mad that Laura's dead, and and everyone else of his race.
Yes. So
everyone at Twin Peaks has died.
One of my favorite Ray Wise from Twin Peaks. He plays this character called Alturas, and Alturas helped Neelix
with some kind of like translation thing. I feel like he sabotaged their universal translators.
They might have too. Yeah.
Because it was just, because the way the thing goes is he just kind of snakes his way in and stuff, and it's very suspect the way the character is, and it's just I've never heard of universal translators failing ever in Star Trek except for the Enterprise, because they were still trying to figure it out. And it's just weird. Oh, the universal translator.
It's actually an interesting concept that would happen.
So did Neelix learn English? Because I always thought Neelix was being translated by the universal translator. So I'm I guess he learned English?
Well, so this Alturas swooped in. This was off scene when this happened, but he helped Neelix and Tom Paris in this trading colony. Apparently, his race is incredibly good with translation, and
wink, wink.
And he asked for transit.
Home.
Yeah, it's like a ride basically, and
give me a ride.
And Janeway agreed to do that. So
I got my thumb.
She agreed, and then interviewed him, and was like, "Oh, you're a master at language.
Oh, you want to come?
Can you do? How about computer encryptions? Is that something you can do?" And he's like,
"Oh, yeah,
fairly simple."
A toddler could do it in my race. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I actually like that idea. An interesting idea for a race is that they're good at translation.
They're just naturally good. It just
naturally appears in their heads.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
They can see code.
Like you said, some races are good to be predatorial and stuff like that, and
whatever Saru's other races.
And some are good to be the predator, the prey. Right. But I think that's cool. There's a superhero in Marvel Comics called Cypher. He's a mutant, and that all he can do is he can crack
solves puzzles.
No, he can read any language. Oh. He can crack any code. But that's all his mutant powers.
Gotcha.
It's a weird thing, but it's kind of useful if you think about it. But it's just a weird. It was a weird power to have. So anyway, that's this Alturas, Ray Wise's character, and so when Janeway meets Alturas, she says, "Oh, could you look at this code that's been we've got, and we want to figure out what it is?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." So he checks it out, and he can figure out way quicker than anybody. And even you can kind of see Seven sort of just like, "What? This is."
She's not impressed. She's got her face on that she had when she lost the game. And she's like, there's no way this guy beat me. I should have been able to figure out this encryption. And he's like, oh, I can mend it.
Right. So he does end up, and they get a whole chunk of this information from this message. Basically what it is they get some coordinates, and they get a message from one of their admirals.
The Windbag.
Admiral Windbag.
Admiral Windbag. Janeway's so polite.
I thought it was funny because he's a bit of a windbag, and all the senior staff's like, yeah. It's like, I don't know. Is this on the record or off the record? Captain.
I hope we can all write that in our personal logs.
Yeah, you call him a windbag.
Uh-oh.
So with this message, basically tells them that they sent this ship for them to use.
With new slipstream technology, it'll shave you twice as quick.
Shave?
Slipstream. It slips right in. Leaves a smooth aftertaste.
It sounds sexual, I'm not going to lie.
I didn't think of it as sexual. Just saying.
It's right after you whip it out, you slip it in. Slip it.
Slipstream. It made
Slipstream.
complete sense to me. It was like a slip and slide. Like, you got to get there fast. Slipstream.
Slip inside. Slip.
Don't slip inside.
Oh.
I said slip and slide.
Slip inside. Slip it inside. Whip it out, slip it in.
All right. What is going on with this podcast?
We're not drinking. Oh, wait.
No.
Yeah, maybe we are.
We are. So they go to these coordinates, and of course they find a ship. It's a ship that's completely empty. There's nobody aboard. When they beam aboard, it's a brand new looking ship, and it's nothing they've ever seen before. Obviously, they don't even have a warp core that they are even familiar with, and that's when the ship.
It's a glowy ball.
Yeah, automatically goes into its warp slipstream capabilities and travels for minutes, and it's like 5 light years.
Yeah, it takes them 3 days to catch up.
Yeah.
I feel like
5 or
Voyager's
15?
I think it's like 15 light years away, and the weird thing was like
3 days to catch up.
3 days to catch up. And it's like I kind of thought warp would go faster.
I thought it would go fast. Maybe they're going warp 3 or something.
Just warp 3.
Yeah, we'll catch up.
We'll catch up with you.
I don't know.
It's not dire.
Well, I feel like Voyager's at their warp scale messed up. I've sent you the math on other episodes before, and it's just Voyager just seems off with how warp works.
Yeah, I don't know how fast that would go actually, but so as they they get the message, and apparently there was a small part of that message that was too degraded and couldn't be deciphered.
Salvageable.
So Janeway wants to keep working on it.
Yeah, so Janeway just keeps looking at this for some reason. But so at the same time, the message basically says that they can use this ship to fly back home. It's going to take them. It's 3 months of slipstream warp.
Slip it in warp.
Slipstream warp, and they will go. Get to Earth in 3 months?
Yeah,
or something
it's quick.
Yeah,
it's a quickie.
And this is the first time you hear even part of the title in the show.
Yeah,
and that's why she starts she continues on working on the encryption,
right?
Because she's like,
this is a little too much.
And
I don't think she didn't say fear.
It wasn't fear. It was something else. It was hope and something else, and a
little too on the nose.
Pessimism. Yeah,
she was like, I think it was Chakotay, he was like, it
was Tuvok.
Oh, was it? It was Tuvok. Yeah, he's like, don't be too.
Seems too good to be true.
And she's like, well, I am leaning on the side of hope, but we got work to do.
Well, in good reason too. Yeah. She's captain. Everybody they run into, every gift they get, it basically comes back at them somehow. So. Mm-hmm. It's not like this is uncalled for her to be
unheard of. So yeah, she looks into it. Seven decides she kind of wants to not go back to Earth. She doesn't want to do it, and she
gets cold feet.
Kind of holds Borg technology out of the reach of Starfleet because she's not going to be going back.
Mm-hmm.
And Janeway sends a crew of people to go check out the ship, look for anything seems out of the ordinary, and basically it turns out that she's right. Like, the crew does eventually find something about the time where she finds the original message. Right before
they start walking around looking for anomalies, I leaned over to Michael and I said, they said that there weren't any holodecks on there. I wonder if it's all holodeck. Like, I wonder if it's an illusion. And Michael doesn't watch Star Trek, so he had nothing to say.
He's like, yeah, illusion.
Sure. But he didn't say anything. And then...
So, he accidentally tries to slip them into Slipstream, and B'Elanna's like, "Hey, don't do that." And it's just he seems like he's got an agenda.
Right before that happens with B'Elanna, Janeway actually decodes. She sets up an algorithm that decodes the actual message,
and she gets that little bit that couldn't be read. And it's not the same message.
It's a different message. It's like, yeah, we don't know nothing. We don't know how to get you back. Here's a
bunch of maps.
You might be able to shave off 7. What did he say? 7 weeks, 7 months.
Oh yeah, something like so.
Yeah,
something insignificant.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, during all this, while
don't run into the Rojan. Don't use their network.
In the meantime, during all this, before she cracked that little last part of the transmission, Chakotay ordered them to try to integrate the slipstream technology into Voyager. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I don't know if the ship can even do that. So, which we will find out soon if they can or not.
Find out.
So when Janeway finds out this information, she just basically calls Tuvok and says, "Yep, everything we thought was right. Our fears were correct. Alturas is trying to do something. We're not quite sure yet."
But they both figure it out at the same time. But she figures it out from the message, and they figure out that there's some alien on the ship that's not.
Yeah, there was some technology that didn't make sense that Kim found. That was
where it blinked like a holodeck, but he said it was like some sort of weird synthesis that's beyond them.
It's beyond you. So they all beam onto the bridge to confront Alturas with a bunch of security people. And
why don't they have the phaser beaming patches like they had in Star Trek Insurrection? Just shoot him at him and beam him up. Like, why would you try to apprehend him physically? That just seems silly.
They probably didn't think it was going to be anything that crazy. Alturas had seemed pretty benign that whole time. You were like, meh, it's just this goofy...
Sure, but when in doubt, beam them directly into the brig. Or into space, like the Mirror Universe people do. When in doubt, beam into space.
Right. So from there, what happens is Alturas throws up a shield around them, and he's trying to send put the Dauntless, the Slipstream ship into Slipstream.
Everyone gets beamed to safety except for Seven and Janeway.
Yeah.
And Alturas puts them in the brig after he slips in the Slipstream.
Yeah, and then he reveals exactly what is going on.
His master plan.
It's like, so he's angry at Janeway for siding with species 8472, and because she helped them and enhance the Borg assimilation technology, like a dumb idiot that she was, his Leland's race that was previously unassimilatable became assimilatable.
Because they were using species 8472 as sort of like a barrier or some sort to stop them from getting at his planet.
But I think he said earlier. I guess he could have been lying, but I think he said the Borg couldn't assimilate them.
He did say that they could not assimilate.
Didn't say they could not assimilate. They said that they were always like a step ahead. They were always trying to.
I think he said they were biologically unassimilatable.
Yeah.
And after Janeway gave them the ability to assimilate 8472, they were also getting the ability to assimilate.
I disagree because at the very end scene, we get that last scene of him on the bridge, and they're like, "You will be assimilated," kind of thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The reason his whole race got assimilated is because the technology that Janeway gave to the Borg to assimilate 8472 it gave them the same technology to assimilate his people. So they were immune to the Borg until 8472.
It's an interesting. I didn't put that together. So, just so our listeners know, we covered Scorpion 1 and 2 back in episode 10.
Episode 10. So, if you
were on episode, what?
160 something?
Yeah, so it was a long time ago. We talked about Scorpion 1 and 2. And we did talk about, back in episode 156, I think it was, we talked about the Prime Directive when it had to do with species 8472 and how we felt that was a violation of Prime Directive. Cause
I was saying that's a double, but,
Well, did we say?
I said it was a double. You said it only counts as one. Gimli, it only counts as one.
Oh, right. No. I thought you meant like so my point only being is that this is a direct impact of that. So that was episode 158, Prime Directive, that we talked about.
Yeah, more fallout. Yeah, of that Prime Directive stuff.
Actually, that wasn't 158. I think that was 159.
Well, Prime Directive Part 3. Yeah.
So my point only being is that this is a fallout of when you basically start operating within your own preview and you take like a race of of 8472 in fluidic space, and then have the Borg interact and all that stuff and fight with each other, because you started that. There's no way you would have known that you would have affected Alturas' race in his home world because of what you did. Mm-hmm. I mean, Janeway just couldn't have known.
It's butterfly effect type stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, although Janeway didn't do it obviously maliciously, this is something that we were like, well, that's a prime directive, and if she followed the prime directive, then that wouldn't have happened. Yeah,
because she clearly interfered, and the whole thing with it just I feel like Janeway's a really terrible person.
I know, you always say that,
but I mean, like, she's like, oh, I felt like it was they were the bigger threat, and I'm like, the Borg went after them, like, yeah. And then why would you give the Borg the technology to assimilate a race that they invaded their space for? Like, Borg were just like poking their nose around wherever they wanted. Janeway, bad decisions, bad Janeway. Go to jail. Orange is the new black.
I don't know. I feel more that it was
an angry Russian.
I feel more that obviously Janeway couldn't have known that was going to happen, and we see this over and over again. That's a captain or something makes some decision, and there's, like you said, a butterfly effect, or there's fallout because of that. So, but anyways, we'll get into that later, I suppose. Like Alturas basically says, because of what you did, I would have preferred the whole crew be assimilated, but I'm taking everybody to Borg space where we'll be all assimilated, and it's like, it's fine,
It's a big F you to everyone, but, I got you, and you're the real cause of this. So, like, she's like, I'll settle for that. He launches in the slipstream.
Right.
And Chakotay's like...
Borg space.
Oh, Borg space, but his planet, because its planet's now in Borg space. So... Right. Chakotay is like, Tom, turn on that slipstream drive.
And Tom's like, I don't even know this damn thing works.
But of course it works, and then it'll stop working at the end of the episode because it's Voyager and it's dumb.
Well,
the ship wasn't built.
The ship was breaking up, was not holding very well.
Sits still for a month or 2 months. Make the ship compatible with it, and then get home in 3 months instead of.
Well, even when they were saying that, they didn't even think that structurally could withhold that, right. And obviously, whatever Alturas race had was not enough. I mean, they were beyond them in a lot of different technology.
Just modify the ship; it can be done. I mean, I just feel like it's really.
I disagree with that.
It's really BS reasons. Oh, it worked for 100. It worked for 10 hours, and we had to turn it off forever. We can't ever turn it back on.
It didn't.
It worked for an hour.
Or an hour.
Yeah, it was for an hour. I mean, I could see it maybe working for an hour, but I wouldn't think that Voyager is built to be like that. I would actually prefer that they would steal the Dauntless and abandon Voyager and get the hell out of there.
Right.
That would have been the best way to handle it.
But then it couldn't be called Voyager anymore, could it?
Then Janeway uses her comm badge to modify 7 to 9 and bring her...
activate some nanoprobes.
Yeah, her nanoprobes so that she can walk through the shield from the brig.
Which works. And they have a touching conversation about fear.
Fear, yes. Not wanting to go back. And she's like, yeah, it was fear, and she's like, I really don't want to be assimilated, so let's do this thing. And
right.
Janeway's like, well, I expect you to our next Velocity game on Monday, so
right.
Don't fuck up.
Get this taken care of, and I'll meet you at the ship. And she heads for the bridge.
So the plan was that Seven was going to basically do this hard turn with the Dauntless and to slow them down. So she does that, and the fear was that the ship would totally tear apart doing that, but it didn't do that, fortunately, for the captain.
But then Leland, because he thinks ahead, he damages all the controls to the ship. So they'd go to Borg space no matter what.
They're going to Borg space no matter what. And then, but Voyager catches up with them, fires on them, knocks down their shields, and then beams up Captain and Seven.
I just love how Janeway's like, you can come with us. And he's like, I'm going to shoot you. And then then they don't ever beam him up. They just let him sit there. It's like, really? You gotta kind of like put him in jail and like just keep him around?
Well, they were in the slipstream when they were able to do that. And Voyager did a 180 well, not a full 180, but turned around. So they were probably out of range in order to get him onto the ship anyway.
Sure, but I mean, they could have beamed him all up, and they could have beamed them all at the same time.
Well,
it's just funny. Like,
at this point, the people on the Voyager knew he was a threat, so why would they grab him?
Maybe Janeway could have reasoned with him. Like, it's the whole Red Letter Media thing when they're talking about the Star Trek Insurrection, where like he's like on the ship with Ruafo. It's like, oh yeah, I talked him out of it. And it's like, we're friends. What, you didn't beam him up either? It's just like the whole thing where they don't beam the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, the bad guy sometimes, I don't know, Alturas didn't seem like a guy you wanted. If you spent that, I mean, how long did it take him to put all that together? Obviously close to a year.
Right.
To put this plot.
They kept saying it 9 months. 9 months ago.
Yeah,
so... He joined us 9 months ago.
So if it took him 9 months to concoct this whole revenge plot against Voyager...
Right,
they're like,
getting the same vicinity.
Like, fuck you, dude.
Bye!
So we get a scene of Alturas sitting in the captain's seat of the Dauntless, basically.
Looking really happy. Is the Borg...
Not happy at all. That typical Ray Wise, Leland Palmer...
just like,
I'm gonna die now. Or be assimilated.
Or he's like, I'll be a demon. I'll infect the Borg with my demonness.
So, and from there, obviously, Voyager gets away, but the slipstream technology is not usable, so they can't use that again. But they had a couple weeks or something like that. I can't remember.
3 months?
Yeah, was it? Yeah, I couldn't remember. But it was a chunk.
Like
they got a chunk of time knocked off. Insignificant because it doesn't matter because they just like jump ahead all the rest of the way at the end of the show. But
and then we get the last little scene with Seven and the captain playing Velocity one more time.
Johnny who?
And then Johnny Credit. And then we get kind of a nice little wrap up that Janeway and Seven kind of working out their, I don't know,
their issues.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Seven's sort of like the teenager trying to come to terms with who she is.
Heads with her mama.
Yeah. And while they're on the ship going toward Borg space, Janeway's like, I'm your captain. I can't be your friend all the time. Gotta be a little real with you, dude.
Yeah.
Is she really your captain? Like, she doesn't even hold a rank.
You're on the ship. You listen to the captain, basically.
Right.
So
yeah,
it was a very fun episode, and without knowing that Alturas is double crossing him, you do wonder what's going on for the first maybe half hour or so of the.
Yeah, because I knew it, so it was because I'm familiar with this episode. I was kind of watching him, and he did kind of he was like photobombing some of the scenes, like making unhappy faces in the background.
But Ray Wise is that great. He's just that sneaky kind of like. He plays that character all the time. Like he's not overtly like evil, but he's always got that sneakiness about him all the time. So you're always suspicious, even under all that makeup. So
yeah, he did a good job. I mean, it's better than his performance in Command and Conquer: Red Alert 2, which is pretty terrible. He played the president of the United States, and he was awful.
Oh, I didn't know that. But we did get him in Who Watches the Watchers,
yes, we did.
Which we talked, like I said, back in episode 158 for the Prime Directive. So, but yeah, if you want to see him again in a Star Trek episode. So, Hope and Fear. What are your guys' takeaways from Hope and Fear?
Well, I always like to look at the title and see if I can pull or tie the title with the context of the episode. Mm-hmm. And I liked that Janeway was hope and that Seven was fear. But at the end, Seven kind of like embraced a little bit of hope.
Right.
And, we didn't really see Janeway fear anything.
I think Janeway always has
like where she didn't have a plan that was like,
I think Janeway always runs on fear, but she has hope in front. She
will succeed.
She has hope in the back of her head, but she knows that there's a fear that she has to always,
right?
Because she's in command. She's got the whole ship, so she's got to figure out, what
Yeah.
Well, not to take the Dauntless just as a oh, this is great. Let's just all get in and
beautiful package, wrapped up and set on our doorstep. But that's my takeaway. I liked the humanity aspect, of what drives you. Is it hope?
Right.
Or is it fear?
Right.
Or is it a mixture of both? And I think sometimes it needs to be both.
Diesel?
Do you run on diesel?
Yes. He runs on alcohol. What are you talking about?
Right.
I run on some Vin Diesel, I know.
You running on Vin Diesel.
What about you, Dave, for this episode?
I'm surprised that Voyager did a callback episode, because Voyager doesn't do continuity very well.
Really? I think
often.
I think they always do kind of like they seed things. They don't. It's not like it's not like Discovery, but you get like.
It's also not Deep Space Nine. It's also not Deep Space Nine either.
Which is odd too, because if you think about it, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager had like a lot of the same people that were involved. So it was like you think that
some.
Yeah, I know, but you think it would have.
Well, Deep Space Nine was able to do a serialized storytelling because the studio didn't give a fuck after Voyager started. The studio just put all their hands into Voyager and was like, you just keep doing what you're doing with Deep Space Nine. We don't care. We're focusing on Voyager. This is our action show.
Right.
And so, like, Voyager got all the studio interaction, which, it benefited Deep Space Nine because Deep Space Nine is my favorite series, and it didn't have the interaction. But it would be interesting to see what Voyager would have been like if they didn't have all the studio meddling. Mm-hmm. If it could have been more like Deep Space Nine with a more story centric thing instead of just the loose thread of we got to get home. But it was a nice callback to Scorpion in this episode for sure.
And that's not too many episodes back, actually.
Well, beginning of the season.
Yeah. I don't... Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
this is the last episode of Season 4.
Okay. But, anything else about it?
It was also interesting that it's a ending of a season that's not a cliffhanger, because usually they're cliffhangers. The only other one that happens in Voyager is Season 1. Mm-hmm. Does not end on a cliffhanger. But yeah, it's a well constructed episode for the most part. I mean, I like I said at the top, I disagree about that 7 would lose to Janeway. So, because the way I interpreted it, it sounded like Janeway won most of them, and 7 only won a couple times.
I'll have to rewatch it, but I took it opposite. But okay.
So yeah, maybe I took it wrong, but it was weird that I was like, I don't see that happening. I mean, Janeway's much older than 7.
That doesn't matter. I mean, you can still be a good player. And that game wasn't... I mean, it was physical, but it wasn't like you're playing, like, football.
Look at tennis.
Yeah.
Huh?
They've got some oldies that still...
Oldies but goodies.
That still do really, really well. So, I mean... It's kind of a similar...
It's too skill, who knows how often Janeway played Velocity. She could have played Velocity, in the Academy, so she could have been like...
The Velocity champion of high school.
Yeah, so she could have been just playing...
from Cochrane High School?
She could have been playing for all those years, and then it's just like old hat for her, so she knows how to do it. So, I don't know.
What about you, Aaron?
Yeah.
Of course, I enjoy seeing Ray Wise.
This is why we kind of picked this episode, because we were tossing. We had a couple episodes up in the air, and then I realized this had an episode of Ray Wise in it, and I'm like, I know Aaron loves Ray Wise. We have to do the Ray Wise episode so Aaron can enjoy.
If you don't know, I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan, so I just love Ray Wise in that because he was such a crazy character in that episode. And it's interesting to see him all makeup, like with the weird head and the face and everything, because you can still see it's him, but he's really altered,
See, I watched Twin Peaks, and I couldn't see it.
Couldn't see what?
And I couldn't see him.
Oh, I know. I know you've watched Twin Peaks, and you probably, but makeup is hard to see.
Well, typically that's something like eyes and teeth are like my... Like, if I see your eyes or your teeth, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't.
And he has.
God.
Yeah.
I was showing her my eyes and teeth. She would know who I was.
So, but Ray Wise.
She didn't like it.
It's very scary.
But Ray Wise has a very distinctive face. Yeah. He's got a distinctive face. He's got a large teeth. And his eyes and everything, so he's very distinct. So, but I do agree, the makeup made him look quite
really
different.
Good.
I enjoyed seeing. I do enjoy.
He's got a distinctive voice, though, so his voice really sticks out.
Absolutely, I enjoy seeing 7 and 9 kind of come to terms with her humanity as well. It's like obviously a sub story throughout her. Throughout the episodes.
Most 7-centric episodes are like that, though.
Yeah, her just coming to terms like, I cut my finger. The blood won't stop.
Where the nanoprobes aren't sewing it up there yet.
Yeah, it's not working like it used to. So it's always interesting to see her. And Janeway Janeway seems to play sort of like a big sister or motherly role with 7 and 9. But it's like you said before. It's like I'm your captain. I can't always be your friend. I have to be straight with you. And it's the same way if you're a parent. It's like not that you aren't loving with your children and you're not there having fun with them, but sometimes
you're not there to be their best friend.
You can't always just be like, yeah, it's okay, buddy. Don't worry about it. You burn the house down.
That's not funny. Houses grow on trees because they're made of trees.
They're made of trees. We'll just wait till this grow another 50 years.
We'll grow another house.
Yeah, so that's always interesting. And I did really like Alturas as a character plotting revenge. In fact, I even thought about that after. What would be interesting if Alturas was assimilated and he became sort of a Locutus kind of character and he came back for revenge again, but as a Borg operative, I mean, as many times as the Borg come back, it would have been an interesting thought for sure.
I mean, it was a benefit to the Borg, so I don't think that they would use him for retaliation material. I don't think they.
He should have disguised himself as a Kazon. Because the Borg don't want to assimilate the Kazon. They should have handed his whole race out with the Kazon mullets.
I think they can just scan their DNA and know that's a Kazon. That's species like 112.
They should have used some inoculation to make them read as Kazon, because Kazon, they're so crappy the Borg don't even want them.
And I thought it was interesting that that Alturas was like. One of the actually bigger scenes for me was when he's kind of revealing everything of the Dauntless being fake and everything, and he says, he points at 7 and 9 and says, she didn't know, she was just a drone. I don't blame her because she's doing what they wanted her to do.
You can't yell at a storm on the horizon. It's a force of nature. You can't let it.
I do. Stop raining. But
another Patreon reward where Aaron just screams that the snowstorm's coming. Stop snowing! No lake effect today.
Stop.
We should get you on the side of the water.
That'd be great. Just as it's just coming at me. Gale force winds. But then he goes to Janeway. He says, "But I blame you." He says, "You can't see further than the bow of your own ship." And I was like, "Wow, that's a powerful line right there." So
it's true. Janeway is very
you are so shitty on Janeway. Gets a little ridiculous. I don't see Janeway as bad as you do. I see Janeway. Obviously, she made. Half of we went through the Prime Directive stuff. Kirk does all sorts of crazy shit all the time. Just that Kirk doesn't get blamed for it.
Kirk has better reasoning usually. And
no, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he just says, "There's a computer. Blow it up."
Blow it up. Yes.
Are you saying that because you don't like Janeway?
Well, the thing is, if she didn't break the Prime Directive in the first episode of Voyager, they'd be back home. And then,
that is true. That is true.
It's the thing, and the thing is, it's like she acted like she cared so much about this race, and then she's like, "Oh, fuck them, we're gonna leave the next day. We're not gonna look and see it." If you're gonna do it, at least try to take care of them for a little while. It's like, nope, we've done our duty. The Kazon will still come and fuck you up later, but see ya. We're going home.
Kazon so much.
It's just so unfounded. Everything about the caretaker's awful.
That's just bad writing, honestly. I don't blame the Janeway character. I like Janeway every time I see her. It's and I like her. I like her in the later episodes too when she loses the bun. The bun thing.
Janeway, her bun unfurled.
Yeah, I like it when she doesn't have the bun. I think it's much better looking for her, and she seems more, ready for action.
You know what's weird?
What?
I didn't notice it was a bun.
Oh, that was all wrapped up?
Yeah, no, because it was so big in the front that I never even looked at the back. And so one of my coworkers, she was like, bun? I'm obsessed with Janeway, and she's so inspirational, and she's my, hero, and I grew up just wanting to be Janeway, and wait till you get to season 2, she gives her the bun, and I was like, what? And she's like, the bun, and she looked at me like, yeah, this girl doesn't watch Star Trek, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
No, I've watched them all, I just don't remember.
I didn't notice the bun
I always thought that they modeled the early Janeway off Katharine Hepburn character, like some of her older movies, because she would have the bun very much like Janeway. I don't know. I have no idea. We'd have to talk with Larry Nemechek or something like that if that was a thing.
Maybe.
Maybe I'll tweet him if he'll get back to me. But that's what I always kind of thought maybe that they were going after, because Katharine Hepburn was always like that, it was very much like Janeway, in all those movies, especially when she played opposite of Spencer Tracy and stuff like that. She was just really in your face and very she's fun to watch too. So I always thought that's what they were trying to do with Janeway. But I did like when she got the cut, and I was like, okay, it just feels more natural. You just kind of wake up and go. You're not putting your hair in a bun kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's too much. So
yeah.
A lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
But yeah, this is a good episode. It's a nice callbacks to earlier in the season,
and a cool villain, just a cool subversive villain.
Yeah, and like I said, nowhere in the episode did it say he was the one who sabotaged their universal translators, but it had to be him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
he had to insert himself into the situation. He sabotaged their universal translators without a doubt.
And they needed a translator,
so he could step in and be the translator.
Sent the transmission from Starfleet.
Yeah,
put the fake Dauntless ship.
Modified it. He did all this stuff. I mean, so you knew he did all this other stuff, but he had to have also done the universal translators, because I can't think of any other instance off the top of my head where universal translators issues were a problem, except for Darmok and then Enterprise.
Again, but that would be a great episode. I mean, obviously Darmok kind of handled it already, but it'd be a great episode where kind of like the Tower of Babel kind of thing, where everyone's speaking different languages and nobody can understand each other.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be a great episode to kind of explore.
Maybe Discovery will give us something like that.
I don't know. Anyways,
Aaron seemed sad about that.
I don't know. I don't think that's where the direction they're going for that. So let's jump into that email, Dave.
Yeah. So we got an email from RR. He asked us not to say his full name, so we're just doing initials. So the email says, so I started listening to your podcast around the 10th episode of Discovery. Let's set that aside for the most part. The podcast is good without the professional polish, and I mean that in a good way. I would like you guys to succeed as professional nerds if that's what you want, but I cannot stand the ready for prime timeline types who are suddenly nerds on TV because it makes it marketable anyway. Let me read that again. I want you guys to succeed as professional nerds if that's what you want, but I cannot stand the ready for primetime types who are suddenly nerds on TV because it's marketable. Is he referring to After Trek, maybe?
Do you want me to read that?
Sure.
Are you not up to reading?
So Aaron's going to read the email.
Aaron's our narrator.
Oh, no.
The evening.
So this is from RR?
George R. Martin.
Oh, wow.
Lies.
No.
God, I hope he listens to us.
No, just RR.
So I started listening to your podcast around 10 plus episodes of Discovery. Let's set aside that. For the most part, the podcast is good without a professional polish, and I mean that in a good way. I'd like you guys to succeed as professional nerds if that's what you want, but I cannot stand the ready for prime time types who are suddenly nerds on TV because it's marketable.
Not as easy as it sounds.
I was going to say, do you want Holly to give it a go now?
No, that's how I'll try it. Sorry, we're having trouble reading.
We're drinking
Technical difficulties.
That would keep that in.
And then he puts in parentheses, or she. That was kind of a backhanded compliment, but it was well intended. I assure you. You guys are both smart and funny and knowledgeable, but also I don't take the material too seriously. So it's and that is appreciated as hell. So the reason for my email was to talk about Discovery, or rather, the way you guys talk about it. The start of the show was a mess. but an entertaining one. I think it was when Larry Nemechek was on the show and he very politely identified the problem of the show wasn't new tech versus continuity. Continuity. What am I thinking?
The Klingon titties.
Women lead characters versus 1960s sausage fest. But the show had production problems from the start. When you discuss Discovery, you guys very politely discuss the show's symptoms, but almost never the disease. We've all seen the countless times since before the golden age of TV, represented by shows or films that show a ton of promise, but very quickly go off the rails due to studio interference. Another one point here: an auteur tipping over his own dick. An actor demanding changes to be made in their favor. William Shatner. Other and or all the above. Studio interference auteur Dick Ramey's Spider-Man 3. I think Ramey is known for being hard to work with, and the studio wanted more shit to sell. Thus an overstuffed, confused, kind of hilarious mess of a film to be born again. A studio interference, actor demanded changes. See every Tom Cruise film. Always, I suspect Jason Isaacs and the completely out of place What the Fuck Harry Mudd 50,000 Murders episodes. After that episode, they should have changed the name to the show as the All Lorca all the time, starring Jason F. Isaac. All the time, happy hour show, motherfuckers.
I would watch that. I would watch the fuck out of that.
I know you would. Away went Saru, a favorite of mine. Berman bludgeoning backstory, and the entire effing war in support of the Mirror Universe, which is an overused pop culture trope gimmick at this point. The Manchurian Candidate 2. What about he was exposed to TSDs, making it easy for drama and lots of overacting, which was fun on the surface, but little else. That might have been fine in Discovery's third season, not in its fourth episode. See studio interference. Did I like Jason Isaacs? Sure. It was a confusing mess. Yes, Lord. Yes, it was. I think Brian Fuller was part of the problem. He might have had a plan, but walked away from Discovery like he had from other shows, leaving it in disarray. From what I understand, they did not like his ideas anyways. This is pure speculation, mind you, but I think when he left the show that there was no longer a leader to guide the progress, and the show wound up being cobbled together from various other discussed ideas. But considering the almost episodic, neck-breaking turns the season made, I cannot think of another reasonable explanation. All of this is pure speculation. But even when you guys are discussing the show, there's a lot of hesitation because you realize mid-sentence how much whatever you are discussing just doesn't match up with other parts of Star Trek or Discovery. I don't care that there isn't an in-canon explanation for why they use holograms on the ship and look and act differently. Berman's want to suit up her expression right before she rockets out of the seldom seen TMP spacesuit to encounter the Klingons. Despite her upbringing, she displays a manic enthusiasm to risking her life for the sake of exploration. In part, you know that she just wants to get into some shit. That's a good point, actually.
Well, yeah, because Vulcans don't really care much about exploration.
Well, they do, but not the way she does.
Yeah.
She demonstrates that she is a well-organized version of human and Vulcan with all the potential of Star Trek wrapped together. When she is a prisoner on the Shinzu, she talked the computer into shooting her into the bridge in order to help save lives. She was cleverer than the super future space computer. The first few scenes between her, Saru, and Captain Giorgio were a clever remix of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy banter. It was more than welcome for me. The show starts surrounding the show starts surrounding a capable and interesting character, her friends and fellow comedy foils, then jerks the wheel and jerks again, then tells you there was no wheel jerking, that the direction of the show that there was always had in mind. That is why there is a disconnect from nearly all of the main characters. It also really bugs me that fans cannot parse the good from the bad, and neither love the show without criticism or hate it because they think it's weird. Get over yourselves, nerds. Anyways, Holly Michelle has really helped make the show more fun. She's been great. You guys should consider having a guest more often to mix things up. For me, the industry part makes for a better understanding of Discovery. Context is for kings. I don't think the show was terrible. I rather liked aspects of it. I hope they do better the second time around, but a lot of it was bullshit. Sorry for the long email. I've been thinking about this for a while. You're truly RR.
You don't have to be sorry.
We like long emails because we don't get many of them. So the longer, the better. So thank you so much.
Martin. Thank you, sir.
So yeah, so just kind of like unpacking slowly so we can talk about respond to the email. So thank you for being a new listener. That's awesome that you jumped in around the 10th episode of Discovery. That's awesome. I'm glad you've stuck with the show and liked us and liked our edition of Holly. I mean, she's been on the show a couple times in the past, but it was always like random. And lately, just things have happened so that it's just been good for her to be on more. And hopefully, I want her to keep being on the show as much as humanly possible.
Yes. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that he said that make sense. We've discussed Discovery quite a bit, and we like a lot of Discovery, but we see there's obviously things they're really weird, and it's almost disjointed or schizophrenic sometimes with the writing. You're just like, why did they throw that in, or why did they do this and stuff like that? And it's not like you can't make it work out logically. It seems like he said or she said that it was cobbled together.
Yeah, and it clearly was a clusterfuck. What Larry Limitek told us: three writing changeouts over the entire span of the series, and it's only 15 episodes.
Yeah,
the only
that's not a lot of episodes to have three changes of hands of writing teams. That is ridiculous. And I agree. I totally agree with you that Brian Fuller is a lot of the problem, but they did listen to his ideas, or at least his ideas were implemented into the show already, and they didn't have time and or the budget to change them. Klingons being bald was one of his mandates.
Yeah, but you got to admit,
no round nacelles was another one of his mandates.
But you got to admit that Brian Fuller being part of that, getting the whole ball rolling, got the studio's attention. Like him saying, "Let's do this," that got the studio to go, "Oh, Brian Fuller wants to do Star Trek. Let's do this." So
I don't know. That was really the. I think they were just trying to bring Star Trek back, and they were bringing.
I don't think so. I think that was the genesis. I think Brian Fuller. Maybe there was like a.
Brian Fuller pitched but the thing is, the genesis was Brian Fuller pitched a generational anthology show like American Horror Story, and they said no.
Yeah,
because that's too much of a financial risk, like building brand new sets for every single version of Discovery through 100 or more years.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. But I would say that he definitely, his name attached to it in the beginning got.
It got us excited. I was excited because he was supposed to be one of us, and I feel personally betrayed by Brian Fuller for his dumb mandates. That made it into the show that he said Klingons must be bald and no round nacelles. I'm like, why?
I'm with RR for the idea that the changes in visuals and stuff like that doesn't upset me as much. I just more of the things that there are issues timeline wise that don't quite add up when you look at the big picture of Star Trek.
But I mean, we don't get non-round nacelles until TMP era.
Yeah.
The Enterprise has those like more boxy looking, sleek looking. And then Enterprise D has got weird, those like weird oval, oblong looking things. And then
I know
all the other ships have but then we have the Shinzu with very they look more modern when they're not round.
I think you get. I mean, honestly, I understand because you're obviously you're like Trek.
I like Trek yards.
I like
Trek yards, and I like the way they think, and I think like them, which is why
I'm not.
like them
I
so
don't
much.
discount that, but it's like to me that's getting lost in the weeds sometimes.
But why would you mandate that? It just seems like a dumb mandate. It's just it's to be different for the sake of being different, and not because it means anything.
There could be an endgame. I mean, we know that they don't have the technology in the future of the spore drive. So it could tie into why they're different.
Spore Drive 2 has to be answered at some point.
That has to be answered. But I mean, but nacelles not being round doesn't make it like they're all like super shielded. They're all
this is the thing, Holly. This is the thing with Dave. He gets fixated on something that's so to use like the shape of the nacelles. You're just like, I don't care. I mean, it's still a ship, right?
Right.
But Dave. He'll obsess about it. Like, Dave stays up at night staring at the ceiling going, they're square, but they were round.
They were round before, and they're round after, and then they start getting square. But why are they square in between this round period when they're supposed to be... This is the round period.
It's weird.
Fashion is weird, man.
I do get caught up in the weeds, but it's part of the continuity. And why Trek Yards is like, oh, maybe Discovery isn't really prime timeline because there's all these visual things that aren't linking in a logical way that they should be. Because all Star Trek has always been progressive as far as this, and this is like a weird regressive and progressive thing in the middle of a place where it shouldn't be. Visual from a visual standpoint.
It could have been visual. It could have a point. You don't know. The show's not over yet.
Yeah, sure. We don't know. Maybe there's a grand plan at the end too.
But the thing is, with shorter seasons, they can't. They don't get lost in the weeds of like why tech is the way it is. I mean, they barely had time to tell the story they were trying to tell in 15 episodes. I mean, because the finale was rushed. I mean, we all agreed with that. That it's just all of a sudden, oh look, war's over.
Yeah. I
mean, they didn't have time to tell the story they were trying to tell, so there's very little time for technobabble and for explaining why things are the way they are. So I'm not going to expect it in Discovery ever because next season's only going to be 13 episodes from what I've read. So it's going to be even shorter. So it's like, they're not going to do that. They're telling serialized storytelling and they don't care about the technical aspect.
Well, yeah, I mean but my whole feeling with. I think this season should be a little better continuity-wise, like writing. I think we're going to see if they keep the same writing team, which we
haven't heard of any shakeup, so hopefully that's good.
Yeah, so hopefully, from what I've been reading and I see, it's basically the dynamics between Michael and Spock. Maybe Sarek will be involved. We don't know yet, but it seems like a family aspect, so it might be a sibling rivalry kind of thing. So.
Yeah, there's supposed to be that family aspect. That's what they're saying in this season. So they also said there's going to be like a spirituality versus faith type, or like
Cybok,
or science versus. I hope Cybok shows
up. Bring back Cybok.
Hashtag bring back Cybok.
Yeah.
Hashtag where's Cybok? Give me some Cybok, CBS. Because I really want to see the three Sarek kids with Sarek, and I want to see how disappointed Sarek is going to be.
With every one of you.
And all of them.
I would like to see all three sitting on a couch, and Sarek just pacing back and forth, just with his arms crossed, like, let me tell you the ways you've all disappointed me.
And Cybok smoking pot and, like, smiling. Spock is trying to be a good Vulcan.
And I'm a good boy, Dad. I'm a good boy. And Michael's just like, you know what? You guys are a little too uptight for me.
If they do a flashback, I want to see all the Sarek children. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, that would be great. I hope there is
I want to see a young Cybok so bad.
Oh, I know. It'd be great. Yeah. That boy was dropped on his head. He was not right. Well,
Harry Mudd did feel kind of weird, like just randomly shoehorned in. I mean, I liked getting to see Harry Mudd. I loved Rainn Wilson's performance, but it just seemed weird.
Honestly, it didn't bother me that much. I thought that he should have had a more integral role of the plot overall, but it seemed like that wasn't a deal. I mean, other than him just being on the jail ship or whatever that was. So.
Yeah, the prison ship. Yeah, it was. I
think it was drawn out, but it set him up for the remainder of the season.
Yeah,
but it was drawn out.
And I do like the 50,000 deaths. I still enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, but it makes me even madder that now that we know Lorca is Mira Lorca, because Mira Lorca should have been way more ruthless and should have been way more cunning than Mud.
I just don't think you could have seen that coming. Honestly, nobody would have seen that coming. Yeah. A space whale coming aboard and he comes out and just starts killing everybody? No way.
Yeah, but still, like Stamets is telling them, like, listen to Stamets.
Nobody listens. That's the problem. Nobody listens to Stamets.
It happens so fast that Stamets doesn't have enough time to even get to the bridge to tell them not to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he could have calmed, but...
Yeah. Yeah, nobody listens to Stamets.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are definitely some overused tropes. The PTSD thing, everyone's got PTSD in Discovery, and then the Manchurian Candidate. It would have been fine if it was just the Manchurian Candidate and some PTSD, but then making Lorca Mira Lorca is, like, the worst thing ever. Because I felt like they were doing too much in a season that was supposed to be about the Klingon War. There was, like, twist and twist. It's like they were doing twists for the sake of doing twists, and not because they meant anything.
It's like a M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's like, and then there's a twist, and you're just like, can you do a movie without a twist? Because that would be the real twist.
But the thing is, the Discovery kept twisting. That was the issue. It was like it wasn't like a straight shot, and they just kept twisting for the sake of twisting, and not. I didn't feel like there was any stakes in it. And then, like, you know, whenever they would kill, they killed Huber, and then after Trek, it was like, oh look, Huber's going to be seen again. And it's like, oh okay, well.
Yeah, but it was sort of like the ghost of Huber.
Sure, but like it just seems like everything about Discovery was kind of poorly planned. After Trek was kind of poorly planned, or like it seemed like they were dropping spoilers. And
they were dropping a lot of spoilers in After Trek
throughout. It just, I don't know. It just seemed like poorly done, just in general. I know they said they're also like revamping. Oh, that was the news this week. They're revamping After Trek, and they're reworking it, supposedly.
Well, I mean, these things are all kinks. Obviously, CBS All Access is trying to get their legs, and they're just trying to reimagine what it is in this world of, you know, HBO Goes and AMC, Talking Dead and stuff like that. Yeah. So all these things they got to kind of figure out. So I still think they should have a YouTube channel with like not behind the scenes, but like extra scenes that would kind of give you more clues to what's going on. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Oh, if they would do webisodes, like that's what they did with Battlestar Galactica back in the day. That was great. I loved that they did.
Yeah, throw webisodes. Like just a quick, like minute,
5 minutes,
2 minute, kind of like real quick. Just to give you like, we shot this, but
they could do like technobabbly stuff in those like little things, like fill in like the science gaps, like do real quick things, like it would be fun.
This is why we have square nacelles.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you, R, for that email. That was really cool. And
is there anything else you wanted to touch on, David?
Anything else you guys want to? I was just kind of glancing through it, but yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, but thank you, R, for that email. That was really great to hear your feedback and how you look at us.
We're glad we're poorly produced in a good way.
Oh, is that my head hitting the mic?
Maybe.
Or
was it his dick? Who knows?
Ooh.
Well, he's in my living room, so it was not the latter.
There's an alternate universe where I did do that.
That's Mirror Universe, Aaron. Where he doesn't have a beard.
Ooh. I'm going to shave and you guys will be like, ooh.
Oh, no.
What was I going to say? I do enjoy the feedback. I do wonder, like, sometimes how people take the show in different aspects. Because, if you're a complete stranger listening to it, like, obviously we, all know each other and we know what we are and who we are and stuff like that.
Most people listen to the show are complete strangers to us.
Oh, I do. I know. But I always wonder what their take of the show is when they listen to it. So so getting feedback, in which we've asked, almost every week.
Yes, feedback.
It's always welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, just to hear what you think of the show, and honestly, we even say if there's a criticism that you want to, give us and let us know. I mean, we appreciate it. Anything can help. So
If you don't like hearing the ice clink around in the glasses.
And the solo cups.
And solo cups, no regular glasses, because we're moving.
I don't have any glasses.
Rolling.
Keep those doggies rolling. Yeah, you know that song.
Hide.
You know that song.
It was in a Super Mario Brothers cartoon once.
Oh, Jesus. You know it.
At least I'm being honest.
At least you're honest. So, shall we wrap this show up?
Yeah. For more emails, you can always email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. Our music is provided by Warp11. Our intro is provided by Dave Wilkes. Thank you for providing that really fun intro. And on Twitter, I personally am at David_J_Duncan. Aaron's at Blackbird2004. Holly's at Lunar Thistle. And the show's at Synthaholic Duo.
Tweet us.
Yeah, tweet us. We like tweeting and getting that out there.
And you can always go onto our Facebook.
It's facebook.com/group/Synthaholics.
Yeah, we have a great group going, and people like to chime in, tell us what they're thinking.
Yeah, or get on there.
Share
Come join
articles.
us. If you're not already there. Yeah, articles, science, sometimes actual science.
Sometimes science.
Usually Aaron is the purveyor of actual science. Aaron's pretty good about actual
I
science.
love science.
I like science too.
But sometimes it's just a stupid meme.
Nah.
And if you can, please go to Apple iTunes, rate and review us. We greatly appreciate that. That gets us seen by more people. And if you can, we throw some money our way to help the podcast keep going. Go to Patreon.com/Synthaholics. That greatly helps us in case we have equipment malfunction or we need to travel somewhere or get out of the country and go to Mexico for one reason or another that we can't really discuss here. Tijuana. You're gonna wanna come to Tijuana.
Yeah. So, thank you all for listening, and thank you for joining us. Thank you again, RR, for the email. Send more emails, RR. If you want more emails read, you can keep sending them. And everyone else, please send your emails, even if it's just feedback, saying you like us for one thing or the other, or don't like us for one thing or the other.
I like this, but I don't like that.
Don't like David's dick jokes. Okay.
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. Fat Boy Slim.
I think I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Aaron's like, yeah, right.
It's not Metallica. We don't know it.
Do we not believe you?
I don't believe you.
I'm not convincing enough. Anyway, well, thank you all so much for... before I let everyone go, you can also see Holly online at youtube.com/NerdNomicon, and they put out a cosplay video, and I did too a couple weeks ago for Nickel City Con. I'm still trying to figure out video for future. It'll come back one day, I promise.
Someday.
Over the rainbow.
Again, wrong. Two different songs.
Yes. That's what I do.
I am going to mix a Dave, like, you must listen to these songs.
You're gonna have
You have to, like, listen to these songs. Like, you have to know these songs. All right.
It's funny when I hear songs that I recognize the tune to, they're usually Weird Al songs, and I know the Weird Al lyrics. And
That would make sense from you, yeah.
You know what?
Like, oh, this Billie Jean? Beat it?
Eat it!
Yeah.
We should ask all of your listeners to hop to Twitter and
Tweet at me music to listen to.
Yes.
Or send links that it's
Yes.
just like...
Yeah, what's a go-to song you have to know? Is, like
What-
a classic.
And inundate
Right.
me with music because I'm so ignorant about music. I had a strict growing up time. But
yeah.
but we're closing out the show. Thank you so much for all listening. Live long and prosper, one and all, guys and gals and interspecies things. Have fun, guys. Take care.
The night's over, I'll puke in the sink, and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
What about dogs?
No, don't listen to us. Actually, Soren might.
I mean,
Stupid humans. Little they know that we control the
And
universe.
the podcast verse. We don't give dogs enough credit.
do you imagine a podcast by dogs?
Dogcast.
Oh, I bet it's out there. It's got to be out there.
I mean, they have them on fonts. I wouldn't be surprised.
They have podcasts on fonts?
I think so.
As
Yeah,
in...
yeah. Typography, yeah.
Wow. Fancy.
That's a niche we should break into.
Some water. Anybody need anything while we're up?
I'm good.
Got any cocaine?
Cocaine?
Michael Caine?
Michael Caine?
Do you know who Michael Caine is?
I do know who Michael Caine is.
Can I have some?
Why do you think I have some Michael Caine to share?
Oh, you will keep it all for yourself, isn't it?
Michael Caine?